an artist for a while now.
So I've been self-employed for probably 20 some years. Yeah, 21 years.
When you look at your career and just where you operate the art market, what is the biggest challenge you think you have in growing your career?
Well, I think the biggest challenge is psychological, because sometimes you wake up in the morning and throughout the career, and you realize that you make a lot of sacrifices to be pursuing something you're passionate about. To do something that you love and to do something you're passionate about takes the most courage, takes the most commitment, and takes the most sacrifice. So nothing comes at a free cost. So there were a lot of times where I'd be waking up in a living room when I was renting out my bedroom, and I was thinking like, oh my God, I'm 30-something years old. What am I doing here? Why am I in this shoebox? My parents are not proud of me, they'd be happy if I was in my old job making money, and here I am struggling, but at least I'm doing what I love. So there's a lot of social pressure from friends, from environment, to, sort of like a socially built idea of successful person, which is very different from being a happy person, per se. I think for you to follow your passions, you have to understand and you have to be thankful you're able to do this on a daily basis as a reward, not necessarily something that's financial. Because finances may come, finances may go. You have absolutely zero guarantees when it comes to art profession. Unless you got very lucky in a series of events where you don't even have to worry about this kind of things, because it sort of took a snowball effect, and some artists are like that. They've never had to struggle in their life. So for the rest of artists, it's a daily struggle, and the only thing that keeps us sane is reminding ourselves, this is what we do, this is why we do it.
Tell me, do you have representation in the art world? Or?
I've had numerous representations. So I don't have a singular representation, because I think it's called kind of an old formula, where the gallery would take 50%, but back in the day, they would also have an attorney and a housekeeper and pay for your apartment and studio and supplies for them to take the 50%. Now, the rule is like, we'll just take 50% and just be happy we're showing your work. So, so I tell them, if you guys want 50%, I want you to pay for my studio, I want you to guarantee my sales, I want you to do a PR, I want you to do these things. I'm not just going to give you 50%. I think it's probably the only industry left that you're not getting royalties for your work. Because you get it in the music industry, you get it in photography, you get it in movies, that's how people are able to survive from a work of art that they've created once, So it is very important.
So there is this NFT craze, and the NFT craze only applies at this point to digital art.
Right.
But we are applying it to physical art. We can apply it to this amazing piece of New York that we have behind. How important is it for you to actually be able to participate in this emerging new market with physical art, traditional physical art?
So actually, that's what I thought originally as soon as the Bitcoin came out, and just the whole idea of a blockchain, that it would be very beneficial to implement it for something like art. There's, first of all, there's information of where your art is located. Because, even on a very basic level, a lot of the art dealers or galleries, they don't want to share the seller's information with you, because they're afraid the seller is going to go directly to you. And it is very sort of like, it's secure thinking, first of all, and secondly, you cannot put this on your resume, like so-and-so has it. Like, I don't know who has it. They bought this work, they're staying anonymous. It's important for many things, and of course, I think it's interesting, just like the way I think of this art is like stock. So And I think of like, it's kind of, so up to this point, before NFTs came out, so I would thought of this as like the person who makes this, the official product, but I'm not the person making the money on it. Because basically, I am just like this laborer who makes this. And the middlemen all across the way, they make all the money. So obviously it goes back to the social standard of thinking that artists are idiots, you know? So it's like you really have to love what you do to be able to do this. So we were accepting all this all along. All the artists have been accepting it. Just like, okay, thank you for letting us produce what we like. But, you know, even that is sort of, there's two sides to the coin, because you don't always produce what you like, because you have a gallery or something like that, and they say, we want more of this sells, we want more of that. Or, you know, the usual sort of like American thinking of narrowing down, like, you know, a surgeon only does this, and a dentist only does this, or an architect only does how it looks like, but has no idea about structure. Like, I don't think that's a correct way of thinking. I think a person has to understand the entire scope. So the same thing with, you know, the art. You know, you want to be able to, I forgot where I was going with that actually. Where I was going with that?
You were
There was a
saying
point.
about doing NFTs for physical art. Why
Right.
is this important?
Right. So I think it's just important to have trace of where it's going, and also so you're not just a laborer, but you can also have, you know, this is an asset, and this is, you're not just a laborer, but you can actually produce it. Like we talked about from the beginning with movies and everything else.
Do you have anything?
Yes, as a follow-up question to that.
Yeah.
So the other side of the coin is, so with you being able to sort of, you know, track the path of your work once after you sell it. Now the other side is, if a collector like several years later come back to you and say, hey, I need to resell your work in the secondary and tertiary market, would you help me? Would you be part of that process? Because the best salesman for these artists is artists themselves. Would you like to participate in that kind of activity?
So I'm not sure if that's a correct statement. Like, I'm not sure if it's a true statement. Like, a lot of times, anonymity or you not knowing the artist makes the artist grander. It's like, you know, it's like, who are the most powerful people? Like, people think of God as most powerful. Why? Because no one ever saw him, you know? Or who are the most famous artists? Banksy. Why? Because we never saw him, you know? So, like my friends or people who know me will not think of me, of my art as great necessarily as someone who watches it from the first time, because they know me, so they know my human flaws, they know, they can associate things. But if they didn't know me, I'm this grandiose person. You know, if you think of like, if someone tells you, oh, this is Rembrandt, and you have an imagination of Rembrandt, and then you have someone come in, you're like, oh, this is Rembrandt? It's not, you know, there's a visual sort of digital idea or visual idea versus a physical sort of judgmental factor that's all built into the humans. So I'm not sure if I'm the best salesman for my art. I can tell you definitely a lot about art coming from me, which is, to me, is important, but for some people, it, you know, they're more interested in what their art advisor says. So it depends on a buyer, really. So I think sometimes at this present time, as artists, we don't have that much power. I think the art advisors, the galleries, the collectors, curators have more power than artists do. And that is actually a problem. So, I mean, I would love to see a future where artists are actually be considered to be more important than the writers who write about them, or the art advisors who write about curators. So that's why I also think that, let's say, if I have that sort of chip, blockchain, built into my artwork that is registered to a certain value, then maybe I don't have to sell it to someone else for it to be valuable. Maybe I can just have an asset of them at my studio, at my storage, and say, this is my asset. you know? And this way, I will be the main shareholder versus this means nothing at this point.
It's not that it means nothing, it will mean a lot.
Right, no, at this point it means nothing. Let's say government comes to tax me, unless this is sold or appraised,
Yeah,
it means nothing.
yeah. But you will have the proof that it is yours, you made it, it is in your collection.
Right.
And people can look at that proof and even say, you know, I'm gonna speak to Gene, maybe he wants to sell it.
Yes.
And maybe I want to make an exhibition of everything that he's doing, or I don't know what, but it's the ability to connect what you have with yourself as an asset that is immutable, meaning there's no way that the information, the data is untrue because it comes with blockchain, will have a huge meaning in the near future. The art world is changing quickly,
Right.
and I think that what we do will be a big driver of what it does.
I'm curious to see how it's going to affect the resale rights. Like, so if I sell a work at a discount, does it mean that this person cannot resell it without my permission?
There is the concept of the smart contract on the blockchain,
Mm-hmm.
and we will supply ready-made contracts for various scenarios. So you can say, boom, this is what it costs, you have it, you do whatever you want. And then there's a different kind of sale. This is a sale, maybe I'll sell it for less now, but you guarantee that you will sell it on this platform and give me the percentage that I owed in the future. And the smart contract, even though it's a piece of code,
Right.
is something that can be represented in court if somebody decides to sell it somewhere else, and they will have to pay you
Right.
whatever
Right.
they owe you. So it is a way to guarantee your partial ownership
Right.
and rights over art that you created, which right now does not exist. But it will exist, and it will be done automatically. It will be done inherently within our system. You will get the token, the non-fungible token,
Right.
that will tell everybody that's yours.
So ideally, it would replace the authentication certificate of authenticity.
I think that it will definitely do that.
Right, because-
it will do much more than that, because the way you do it, so let's say that you wanted to sell this thing behind you, and you will take a picture of it and upload it to the system will actually create a token, will put it in your wallet. When you sell it to me, it will take this token and put it in my wallet.
Right.
So I will have the original, the piece, I will have the token, and together that will be my proof of
Right.
ownership
Right.
and proof of originality also,
Right.
provenance. And it's again something that is not happening
Right.
now,
Right.
even with those certificates. of
So
authenticity.
theoretically, let's say if you have this token and you have the artwork, but someone steals your artwork. So theoretically,
without the token,
right.
it's not
So you
worth
still
much.
own the artwork because
Yeah.
that will basically hold their certificate of
Yeah.
authenticity. So even if someone tries to resell it or,
They can't resell it as an original because they don't have the
Right.
token.
right. But you can resell the token if you want to. You can give
Yeah,
someone else
if
the ownership.
somebody wants just to
even
own
though
the
it's
token,
virtual.
Yeah, you can if you want. But
Okay.
we want things to stay together. That's what we're developing.